Hello, friends. Today I want to talk about prophets for profit. These are people who misuse the spiritual gift of prophesying, which has been given to them by the Holy Spirit, and they misuse it in order to make profit out of it. Now, in Matthew 24:24, we are warned to be aware of the emergence of false prophets in the last days who will go about deceiving people, even deceiving God's chosen people. Nowadays, everywhere you look on social media, you will see the emergence of prophets, these prophets. What they do is that they claim to have the prophetic gift, but they just prophesy what they think people want to hear. Now, if they are on social media, perhaps they have a channel, they will be giving prophecies which people want to hear in the hopes that they will boost their subscribers or they will make money out of their channel which they have. So we find that uh, Jesus Christ said, "You will know them by their fruits." So as believers, we need to test the spirit. If somebody claims that they have a prophetic gift, and in this case, the only way we can test the spirit and find out their genuineness is by checking to see whether their prophecy will come true. Now, for example, there are some prophets who keep claiming that the world will end on a certain day. First of all, if you are a believer who reads the Bible, you will know that according to the Bible, no one knows the day or the hour except the Father. And secondly, you will find that on that day which they have prophesied that the world will end, it usually comes and passes by. And as you can see, the world is still going on. It has not come to an end. So you need to test the spirit. And when you test the spirit, you will know them by the fruit. Prophet Micah laments about the presence of false prophets during his time. And the prophets in those days, in Israel, they would receive money from corrupt rulers, and in exchange for the money, they would prophesy to the rulers and also to the people what they wanted to hear, such that if it is the rulers who want to go to war, they would come to and pay them and then ask them what the outcome of the war, and they would lie to them that they will win the war, because and they would tell them the lie because the rulers have given them money. Or even ordinary people, they would come to the prophets wanting to know something about something and the outcome of something. So, of course, the prophets would ask for money, they would pay them, and then they would tell them an outcome which they want, which is favorable to their ears. And and the same is happening today. We find prophets all over, especially social media, prophesying and telling people what they want to hear. The main role of a prophet is not just supposed to prophesy and predict the future or future events. They're also supposed to call people and warn them to stop sinning and call them to come back to God. But you find that nowadays you'll not find even most of these prophets, the false prophets, the prophets for profit, they don't even call people to God. They just prophesy about events, most of which never come to pass, or some of which have already passed, and then they just start prophesying about something which has already passed, which actually that is not a prophecy. A good example of a prophet for profit is Prophet Balaam. Balaam used to charge for his services of prophesying because at first he had a true prophetic gift, and when people realized that his prophecies usually came to pass, he started charging for his services. So it came to happen that King Balak was feeling threatened by the Israelites who were advancing towards his land, And so he paid Balak and asked him to curse the Israelites. When Balaam tried to curse the Israelites, God stopped him and told him that those are his people and he cannot curse them because they are blessed. So Balaam instead did something very bad. He advised King Balak to send some Midianite women to go and tempt the Israelite men and lead them astray. So in the end, we find that both Balak and Balaam were killed by God because Balaam misused his prophetic gift and now he started becoming a prophet for profit. In the book of Micah, we had talked earlier about Micah, who was a true prophet of God, and he was surrounded by these prophets who are false prophets who are out to make profit. We learned that God passed judgment on this false prophet, and he told them that he will strip them of their ability to deceive people, and that he would remove their prophetic powers and they would be exposed as frauds. And as we know, a prophet without this ability to prophesy is not a prophet. So God warned these false prophets that he would strip them of their prophetic powers and expose them as frauds. False prophets thrive on deception, but God's judgment will bring everything to light. This is a sobering reminder that those who misuse spiritual authority will eventually be disgraced by God. True prophecy is not about charisma or influence, it is about being filled with the Holy Spirit. True prophets are not just people who predict the future, as I said earlier, but they also call people back to God and tell them to stop sinning. A true prophet does not seek to please people, but by telling them what they want to hear, but instead he speaks out against sin, even if it is being committed by the high and mighty and those ones in position of authority.